Hello there, and welcome to another one of these strange little gatherings. Happy Friday, happy 555. I hope you have a brilliant weekend. I'm here, very cloudy, kind of overcast day today, but I don't care because I'm filming this on the day after. As soon as I've finished this podcast, I'm going to leave and we start mixing the album, me and Jim Pinder. It's going to be one of the best weeks of the year. So I'm here with my mug of tea. The crack has got bigger. It's all the way around. It's going to break at one point. I've got a new mug that's just arrived. Guess what it says? Yes, exactly. And on the back it says... But I'm the same as I am with petrol. I wait until the very last moment when I need it, and then I wait for disaster to strike. Could happen on this podcast. Let's hope so. Straight in with the questions. The Black Sands of Time have spoken. And we're off with Mark Stevens asks, "Hey Ginger, I love hearing people's enthusiasm for their favourite artists and influences. So I've really enjoyed you talking about your love of the likes of Motorhead and Sparks, etc. I'd love to hear more about what Bowie means to you, what got you into him, what stages in his career do you do it or don't do it for you, and what influences he's had on you as an artist." It's hard to really talk about what David Bowie means to me. I'll tell you what David Bowie means to me. I never really had a dad growing up. I never had. Got one, obviously. There was a cock involved somewhere along the line, and I was conceived after a Kinks gig. So there's rock and roll in that unison. But my dad left, and then my mum had a succession of, men who weren't great influences on me. I'll just say, keep it all positive and keep it in the realms of, I'd never had a father figure who taught me anything. So my two father figures growing up were Bowie and Lemmy. Well, Bowie was obviously first. It wasn't until much later I realised how much I've got from Bowie and Lemmy that made me realise how much of a father figure role they played in my life. But Bowie was obviously first. Now, I think I first heard Bowie on Laughin' Gnome, and I just liked it because it was funny and whatever. And then Driving Saturday came out. People of my generation, we lived for the radio. And I still remember being where I was when I heard Driving Saturday, and it just, everything about it. I mean, it's still, everything I love is in that song. Like the 50s kind of style of rock and roll. I suppose the 60s style of rock and roll. And the melody, the harmonies, the weird arrangement, the weird sounds, and the lyrics, Bowie's lyrics. Let me put my arms around your head. Gee, it's hot, let's go to bed. I mean, none of that even makes any sense to a little kid. It's hot. What do you want to go to bed for? So I thought, this guy's obviously special. He goes to bed when it's hot. Anyway, I've saved up all my pennies, went into the record shop. I can't remember the record shop's name. Doesn't matter. And said, "Excuse me, mister, can I have Drive-In Friday by David Bowie?" And then he proceeded to say, "It's Driving Saturday," and the whole shop laughed at my expense. And so Bowie taught me about ridicule, even before I'd actually purchased this fucking thing and took it on to play. So he was already teaching me a lot of things about what I am, what I like, what I'm going to keep on doing. Got it home. I've still got the single, but you can't play it anymore. It sounds like a bacon and eggs convention, but I'd never throw it away. And it's on the old label, I forget, the orange label, where it's got black writing, it's indented in the plastic, the name of the label. But from that point, Bowie was just, yeah, this is good, I like him, or it. And then he just kept doing things that were better than everyone. And obviously the Ziggy stuff and everything like that was great, because it was like glam rock was in, and he was in there early, and without Bowie you wouldn't have Iggy. Or you wouldn't have probably heard of Iggy, so he brought him up the ranks. And then and just kept being there. And then Heroes hit. I remember Heroes as being one of those songs that just made me instantly cry. And I didn't know why. So again, he was doing things to me I wasn't even aware of how to describe them. He was eliciting feelings from me that other bands that I liked, other artists that I liked, weren't doing. They were just entertaining me. It kept going, singles after singles after singles. I mean, God, you can't go on about Bowie's singles without taking up a whole podcast. There's a great double CD of the best of Bowie, and it's the later one that's got John I'm Only Dancing, TVC 15, all that lot. That I've never seen it on album, but I think it's only available on CD. I don't think it's even online. But I'd get it. It's fucking every song is an absolute belter. Well, anyway, at times in my life when things weren't going very well, Bowie was there. And then at one point, my life was just, I come from a very a history of domestic violence, and there's a lot of upset, a lot of violence, a lot of fear, terror. And Bowie came up with Absolute Beginners. And I remember I heard it because back then you used to record the radio, so you have your little cassette with the two record and play. So I don't often miss the beginning, and I missed the beginning, but it went into that wow, 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 and I knew it was him because he was doing that thing to me. He was assuring me that it's okay. It's okay. We've got this. I'm there with you. In the immortal words of the man himself, you're not alone. Just give me a hand because you're not alone. Fucking hell. Hairs on my arms are standing up. And he just kept doing it. He's always been there. And I think that's what a good father figure, in my imagination, I don't know what a father figure does because I haven't had one. They're there when things are seemingly unsurmountable for yourself. They're there to go, it's okay. I'm here with you. I've been there before. We get through this. It's going to be okay. To me, that's what I imagine a father figure does. But the fact that Bowie went right until the end. I mean, the ending of his life was almost one of his greatest moves because he'd just been out of Bowie was always there. He was always releasing stuff. And then he had a few years at the end where no one had heard anything from him. All the rumours started going on. He's died. He's, whatever. And then he released, I forget what song it was, but he released something. Like, it was a video. And you're just like, fucking hell. It's David Bowie. Been thinking of you. And did it again. Just made you realise that they're still in your life. Even when you're busy, life gets in the way and stuff happens. They were still there. Just going, it's going to be all right. Don't miss me too much. I'm here. Then he died and released another fucking record. I mean, talk about doing death well. He did life so well, but there's something to be said about doing death well. And when Black Star came out, it was just like, I'm still here. Even though I'm not here, I'm still here. I say amazing man, but he was more than an amazing man because I can do you a list of amazing men and there's only one David Bowie and he's not on the list. There's just he's floating by himself in a sea of awesome. I'm lost for words when I try and describe what Bowie means to me, but he's always been there in my life. He's still there. I had Black Star on the other day and I realised that every time I play the album, I'm going to like it a little bit more than the last time. An amazing man. I pick heroes really well. Fuck me. I picked heroes I picked Sparks, Lemmy, Bowie, and they didn't quit. They didn't let up. They told you it was about the art. They told you it was about the music. And then they went on to live a life that proved that they were telling the truth. What more can you ask from someone like that? I could do a whole podcast on talking about Bowie because there's quite a lot to unpack. So I'll stop there, but he's had as much of an influence as anyone in my life. Yeah, love him like I would love a dad, but a really good one. And Cooks, obviously, is funny when he's talking about being... I used to think that he was talking to me. Anyway, J.R. Remke asks, as I don't watch much TV, I'm curious as to how you discover these horror movies. I'm only aware of a few of the titles. Well, J.R., I don't know. Because I'm interested in them. My horror radar is always tuned in to what's going on. If it's something online, I'll follow it. If it's a director that I like, his name will pop up and I'll go and see what he's up to. Sometimes it'll just be an instinct. I wonder what so-and-so is always making a new film. To be honest, Instagram and Twitter tell you a lot about new stuff that's coming out. But that still doesn't mean that you've managed to find out all the stuff you need to find, because there'll be some stuff that came dribbled out a lot, like a lot of my albums. People, I didn't even know you did that. That's a lot of entertainment is like that in the independent world. So I just keep my ear to the ground because it's something that I really am interested in. Again, like Bowie, horror has been there since I was a tiny little kid and has always been a comfort. Ironically, the one genre of film that isn't supposed to comfort you always did comfort me. I'm going for another drink of tea. Hopefully it's gonna... Didn't break. as you could probably see. So yeah, I found out, the same as I find out about independent music. I've been noticed. I watched one of my podcasts. I vowed I'd never do it, and I had a bit to drink the other day, just being at a party, and I thought, fuck it, I'm going to watch a podcast at 3 a.m. And I realised that my hands are just in the frame all the time, and I'm going to try not to be so expressive, and I'm going to fail miserably. But yeah, like music, like independent bands, I find out because I want to know, and I'm tuned in, and if I do discover something, I'll go down a rabbit hole, and ultimately, invariably, discover something else in the search. Yeah, got to be in it to win it. That's what I say. The Beauty of Manchester asks, Maintain Radio Silence is magnificent. My favourite song of the new album. Mine too. I've no idea why I don't play that one live. Can we expect to hear Maintain Radio Silence at Wildhearts concerts? Get out of my head, Beauty of Manchester. In my thoughts, I appreciate it's tricky to try and find room in the setlist for all the songs old and new, but that one is an absolute belter and always makes me up my pace on my 10k. Fuck yes. Oh man, I tell you what, when you lot tell me that songs are making you exercise, or making you, go out and walk, or making you try and especially get over or get through difficult periods, man, you couldn't tell me anything better. You could tell me I'm cute, you could tell me I'm talented, you could blah, blah, blah. None of it really hits home. When you tell me that it's helping you, fuck me, that's the striking gold there. Bullseye, pew, with a bullet, pew, pew, with 2 bullets. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. I don't know why it's not been in the set. I tell you what, it's fucking impossible. We've got a new album, I'm sure you are aware of, that we just recorded. Now I wanted to put a song in the set, which means kicking out another song. Now, we whittled the set down to 2 hours. I thought, well, okay, we've got so many songs, we'll do 2 hours. But then there's 2 bands, I'm not going to say who they are in case it falls through, but there's 2 bands I really want to get on the bill. And it looks like I was going to get one of them, but they're both available. They haven't said yes, and it hasn't been finalised, but they are available. And so I want to get 2 bands on the bill, which means that we've got to cut the set down even more to 90 minutes, which is fucking even harder. Honestly, it really is. It's increasingly, that's a lovely fucking problem to have, I have to say, but it gets increasingly hard to think, how are we going to put in all the songs that everybody else wants to hear, which we can't fit them all in. So it doesn't matter how many we sack off, because we've got to sack off some. And some of the songs that we know work great in a live situation. Not always the case that they're both the same. Some songs go down great with the people that know them, and others make everyone sing. But the Wildhearts fans that have been around for a while go, I'm bored with that one. I never need to hear it again live. And I'm like, you're bored with it? Fuck me. I know someone in that room who's more bored with that song. So I don't know. I've gone back to the drawing board again. I would like to put Maintain Radio Silence in the set, because it has a vibe that the other songs don't. And that's how I like to put a set together. I don't want tons of songs that just sound like each other. And a lot of people say that's what people want to hear. Tough shit on you lot. But yeah, it's got to be some give and take. It's a two-way thing, and we got to have a set list that we think is exciting. You don't want to see us going through the motions, because any of you that have been around for a while have seen that. Seen the Wildhearts going through the motions, playing the same old fucking set list, year in, decade out, and suitably, you didn't leave feeling like you had a new spring in your step, did you? You just went to see the Wildhearts again. And I want to try and remind everyone that although this is a band who's been around a while, and the nostalgia thing always comes into it, I can't get away from that. But it's not just a heritage band. We're still making good music, and we're still excited about being in the band. If you're still making good music, like your Bowies and your fucking Sparkses, and Motorhead right up until the last day, it's not just a heritage band, but you've got to accept that it kind of is. There's a lot of nostalgia involved in hearing songs that are 20 plus years old. We'll get round it. I don't know how, but we'll get round it, because we always do. Sean Taylor says, with the recent success of the Wildhearts and things being in a great place for the band, would you ever consider another attempt at a double album? Funny you should say that, Sean. Yes, I was thinking that the next one, not the one we've just recorded, but the one after that would be a double album. I've got a title for it. That might well change. And I'm already getting some song ideas in. And I know that it hasn't got a shape. And sometimes I say, like, yeah, but I know it's going to have a shape. It feels like it's going to have a kind of theme. But with the title and the ideas being so different to each other, I'm thinking the theme is going to be, it's just all over the fucking shop. And if it's going to be all over the shop and we're together and we're writing, there's going to be a lot of songs. So I reckon you can probably guarantee that the one after the next one will be a double album. Is my little Nostradamus thing there. This one is from Emma. Hello, Emma. Hi, Ginger. I beat you to it. You know when fans say to you, oh yes, I saw you play at St. George's Hall in Bradford in 1994. I was at the front and took the set list after the gig, or similar. Do you remember the specific show or the fans from years ago? I found it difficult to remember last month. Yeah, I know. Sometimes, but asking as I've been guilty of the above question. Well, Emma, I got to be honest, I don't remember a lot of the 90s. Specifics, fuck 'em. I can't remember. There's years, there's clumps, there's tours, there's even large portions of albums that I've made that I can't remember doing. I put that down to having a terrible memory, which I've always had, but alcohol, because alcohol kills your short-term memory, and now I'm not drinking anywhere near as much as I used to. I'm starting to remember things from the past again. But there's still chunks of the AC/DC tour where we were just drunk all the time and there's no memories there. Alcohol and weed, forget it, you know. Those memories are consigned to the bin marked, yeah, clever cunt, you know. You enjoyed it so much you can't remember anything. But I did enjoy it. I had a great time. It's not like I'm going like, oh, I fucked up. I wish I could go back and have those, because I would have done exactly the same thing as I did. And I think everyone should do that. If we're here talking about this, it worked out. And fuck me, there's a lot of people don't make it. Brett Hines just passed. Every week, someone I know or someone I'm really fond of goes. Often these days, even more regular than every week. So yeah, if we're still here and we're still talking about it, it worked out all right. The fact that you can't remember some bits, the fact that there were some embarrassing bits in there, gives a shit. You fucking made it. You made it. Your bloodline made it. As long as you've fucking been around, your bloodline didn't get severed. Lots of things to be grateful for. And I'm really grateful. And the fact that I've got no memory of a certain amount of times is probably a good thing. I had no memory and there's no YouTube, so there's no evidence. So it didn't fucking happen as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, of course I don't remember specifics of gigs in the 90s. But I do remember people. I do remember there's a lot of faces. You know, I'll see people now and be like, fucking hell, I haven't seen you since blah, blah. But yeah, as far as details, it's all foggy. Foggy as fuck. Andrea asks, hi, Ginger. Hi, Andrea. So you've done so many things, been to so many places, met so many interesting people. My question is, what fires you up these days? What makes you excited for the future? Thanks for these ace podcasts. Thank you, Andrea, for thanking me. I'm glad that you like the podcast. Someone said we've done nearly 30 of them now. Fuck me, it's mental. 30 hours. I've been talking for longer than a day. That would be funny, wouldn't it, if we did a 24-hour chat? No, don't put it out there. It's a fucking terrible idea. Imagine what you would sound like after fucking 24 hours. It's a kind of thing I would fucking do, you know. Terrible idea to put in the universe. What are you doing? What fires me up these days? What makes me excited for the future? I'm going to put it in a little tasty bite-sized morsel. I am excited about the non-physical. There you go. I'm excited about the spiritual world. I've been in touch with my spiritual side, which has always been there, obviously. I think you have a physical and a non-physical experience in this world, on this dimension, in this limited 3D experience. I've kind of divorced myself from the physical and concentrating solely on the non-physical, which really benefits the physical. So I'm concentrating on mind, body and spirit. That's what really excites me. And mind, body and spirit is you can't ignore mind or body or spirit. So if you're concentrating on your body, it helps your mind. If your mind's in a good place, you're in a good place to align and connect with the source, or the non-physical, or universe, or God, or whatever the fuck you want to talk about. This big thing that's going on. It makes me wonder, because atheists and stuff will say, I don't believe in God. I get it. I get you don't believe in God. But the story itself is sound. But to not believe in anything but the physical, that must hurt. Fucking hell, that must be so hard. Especially when you get older and you want to know the truth. The thing that makes me most excited is finding the truth. I've got no time for something that isn't the truth. Bullshit, drama, all of it. I've got no time for things that don't align with me, that don't fucking jive and dance with my vibe. No time for it. Got no opinion on it. You know, to be wrapped up in that must be so weird, that physical. When you get older, the truth seems to be the only language that makes sense. You've dealt with all the bullshit and the drama and spoken riddles and all the rest of it, and it hasn't really worked. You're still feeling unfulfilled, still feeling like there's something going on that I'm not getting. It's not all. I guess not everybody wants to know answers. I like to know answers. I like Q&A. And my Q&A with the universe takes place on a daily basis. And I go out there and I find a nice place to sit or stand or walk or whatever, and I just meditate. I don't hold my breath and close my eyes and mumble stuff, but I communicate. I connect, and I've got questions. I've got lots of questions, and they all get answered. And I'm told on a regular basis that I'm not allowed to know more than I need to know, which makes a perfect amount of sense, because when you're growing as a flower, all you need to know is that it's strong. It's strong. There's a lovely yellow budding part of this thing that you are that's turning green and getting strong and nice and green, strong. And that's how I feel information is, or knowledge, or the truth. My search for the truth, it comes in dribs and drabs, and I only get tiny little bits. But I get everything I need to know. Everything I need to know right now. That's really what excites me, the spiritual world, the non-physical. I think we're not just sharing I don't believe, obviously nobody knows. No one in the whole wide world knows. And that's the fucking fascinating thing about it. There's so much information out there. You could go down any rabbit hole and believe whoever that you wanted to believe. Or you can go, it's probably none of the truth. It's probably maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but no one out there knows the truth. So I'm going to try and find my truth the way that they found their truth. Connect them with whatever it is and go, can you just fucking sort a few things out for a brother? And I get it. And I've got this beautiful relationship with it now that is won't say fixed my mental health problems, but it's put them all into perspective, and I can handle them, and I no longer take medication, which frees up your mind so much. I would never ever suggest that you do it, but it's worked for me, and that's what I'm excited about, finding out who I am, through all of these different searches and this curiosity that's going to follow me to my very last day. It all tells you who you are honestly, and not the kind of version of yourself that you've been pushing on people. And it makes me laugh that the person that I used to tell people I used to advertise me as being, it's so not me, the aggression and the nihilism and just the hatred. I still think mankind is largely a waste of fucking time, but it doesn't affect me the way that I want to be, the way I really, really want to be. I want to be the person that I am. That really excites me. So mind, body and spirit, that's what fucking floats my boat these days, Andrea. And thank you. That was a good one. I like some good questions this week. Not that there's not always good questions, but I like questions that steer it away from just music and what happened with you and Izzy Stradlin, Again, not a bad question. Probably answered it more than any other question. Gaz Wildheart says, hi Ginger, hi Gaz. If I'm alone without music for more than a couple of minutes, the silence is deafening. I know. Oh, well, I don't know, because I've got fucking tinnitus. I feel empathy. Oh, no, I feel empty. And it almost becomes suffocating. It takes me back to the darkness of depression where I suffer in silence. Music almost feels like an addiction one that I don't want to kick. Oh, why am I finding it so difficult to read? I thought I was having some fucking weird moment here. I was just wondering how you are with silence for long periods, or is this where your internal radio kicks in? Well, Gaz Wildheart, I'm fine with silence as much as I can get it. I don't really have silence. I don't do silence. Like I say, I've got tinnitus, so it's never silent. You just sometimes forget it's there. I also have my internal radio. I never, ever, ever, ever don't have music playing in my head. Whether I choose to tune into it or whether it becomes a bit of an annoyance, it's never really annoying. It's just fucking constant. I don't have silence. But I must admit, if I'm in the house and I don't have music on, it feels weird. It feels like I should be doing something, or I'll not have music on, because if I put a record on, I can't take the thing off. So if I've got a phone call coming, like I did, I had an interview the other day and I couldn't put a record on, and the interview was a little bit late, and it just felt like this silence was going on forever because there's nothing I could do about it. So I had to get in touch with the guy and say, look, mate, I'm going to have to put some music on, if I don't get your call, I'll call you back. And that's what my life is like. If I'm doing something, there's got to be music on. When I was a kid, I used to do my homework with music on. I don't know how I used to write, but then I do my journal with, so yeah, I'm full of shit. But yeah, there's got to be music on. I don't like a quiet house unless there's a moment, a special moment, and the sun's coming through, and you just and just want to stay like that for a little while. But for the most part, there's records on. Or when I'm making dinner, put this little thing on, which is it. Taylor made me do that. An Anchor sound box, and they're great because they compress everything and make everything sound awesome. So dinner can take, usually takes 2 albums. So yeah, I set music to chores that I'm doing, but my record player is pretty much always on. Not very good with silence. That's why I'm not very good with meditation. Shit, I'm meditating. So one thing that I wish I could do, and I'm sure I will kind of get into it, like the proper meditation, the Buddhist sitting with these fucking legs crossed and all of that. I get there and there's this fucking music going all the time. And how am I supposed to concentrate with the music? Don't listen to the music. Who said that? And on it goes. Nico from Italy says, hello, 5 months in and I'm still loving this hour. Wow, 5 months. 5 is a good number. 5 months of podcasts. That's not bad. That means that we should have a podcast. I agree. There's probably a lot of podcasts out there that don't look like they're going to last. And I don't know. Good luck to them. But you've got to find something that you can do consistently and that you enjoy. And if you're trying to keep something up, it's not going to work. But you're going to do well. You're going to do, but every week for 5 months, that's got to be something that you can keep up. And I like it. And as long as you guys hand me questions, especially the quality of this week's questions, I'll be here. But if you stop answering your questions, I'll probably just fucking talk. But yeah, I like that to the point where I enjoy this. I go on and do my gym and the shower and get ready for the, dry me fucking hair and I get myself in a mental place that I really enjoy being in. I try to be in the best place I can for you. And so when you see me in a good place today, it's because of you. And isn't that a good deal? What other reason more, would you need to do a podcast? Because it makes you feel good and it entertains people. If you don't like my podcast, then there's billions of them out there, probably too many. Question. Marillion invented crowdfunding in 1997 with fans paying for their tours and records and released beautiful music over the last 20 years. Are you a fan of their post-Fish era? Hogarth has got the best pipes in music and I find myself in tears at these shows. I can't say that. I like Fish. I met Fish quite a few times and he's a lovely bloke. But I can't say I was a massive fan of the music. And John Poole we have a great thing where he just he recites. If I needed a laugh, he'll recite me old Marillion lyrics, and that'll break the tension, and it always works. But when I used to do the thing on Twitter that I have no idea how I used to fucking get around it. But I used to do a thing on Twitter. What albums have you heard that I should need to listen to? And I think I'm due another one, although there's a lot of great music coming out these days. My God, every few days I'm hearing something that I love. But we did one and someone said, listen to this Marillion album, and I'd never heard a Marillion album with Steve Hogarth, and it was the one, I forget what it's called, but it's the one with the flower on the front. It's all different coloured strips. My God, it floored me. It's fantastic. The only reason that's not higher in my esteem is it's because it's separated over 2 vinyl. If you know me, you'll know that I hate albums that could be put on a single album. All right, there's double albums and that's fine, but a single album stretched over on 2 vinyl, I'm like, give us an option. The sound suffer slightly, but you get it all on 1 vinyl. That's the one I'm buying every fucking time. I've got an EQ for fucking sounds, whatever. But the idea of getting up and turning an album over, to me, is part of the deal. But when you have to turn an album over, I fucking got the Chapel Roan album recently, and one of the sides isn't even a side. It's just a blank bit of, come on. You could have fucking squished that together to make 1 album, and it would have went on my record player a lot more frequently. Same thing with this Marillion album. It wasn't the length of a double album. It wasn't a double album. There's like 3 songs on one side and 2 songs on another side and a fucking something else chucked on the end to pad it out. I can't stand that kind of commerce. But that album was fucking... I absolutely adore it. And unfortunately, my favourite song on it is on side 3. Get it together, these people now. But yeah, I really like that album. So, he has got a fucking great voice as well. Great melodies as well. That line, what's the fucking line on it? The angels won't be found in the walls of churches, and the heroes won't be in the wall of fame, something like that. When people come out with phrases that I haven't heard before, it's sexual for me. I just fucking start fancying them. I really do. I'm just like, you are an impressive human being. I like the cut of your jib. Silk asks, loving the podcast. Thank you, Silk. Me too. Loving the podcast. I'm a part-time personal trainer, so I'd really love to know your thoughts on exercise and mental health. I know how else exercise helps me fight depression, but everyone has different experiences with fitness. You talked a lot about your pain room, so I was wondering what aspects of working out you find beneficial for your mental health. And also, do you have a playlist for the pain room, or are you one of those psychos who can work out in silence? Who the fuck works out in silence? Do people do that? People work out, do just nothing going on but them going... That's what happens in hell. Personally, I think headphones are more of an important piece of gym kit than a pair of shorts. I fucking agree with you, especially looking at some people's legs that I've seen at gyms. Cheers, keep up the fucking wonderful work. Thank you, Silk. I'm really glad you're enjoying the podcast, and this is a fucking another great question. It's the week where we get loads of great questions. I told you this week couldn't go wrong. The week where I mix the album, and it's the best questions I've had in a long, long time. I enjoy this question so much, I'm going to take a sip of tea and one of these. People go to the gym in silence. I guess people run in silence and they just get into that rhythm of their own breathing. Not for me. Not for me. No, sirree, Bob. I use the gym. Sorry. You can tell I'm going to enjoy this question by the amount of time I'm taking to fucking answer the cunt. I like going to the gym to find out about new music. So I will invariably put an album on or a new release from Spotify. I get to hear an album once, which I've already told you, and I'm going, great. Goes on the list, and I got to go out and buy it on vinyl so I can play it on my stereo. It's the way it used to work in my day. You like an album, you buy the fucking album. So yeah, I use the gym a lot as my kind of shopping. I like going on fucking Amazon or whatever. I go on Spotify and I play, or I'll just there's nothing going on new and I'll go, okay, I need something fucking, I need Napalm Death today. Or today upstairs actually I had the Bee Gees on. Someone suggested online this one Bee Gees album. It was albums that famous bands make that didn't resonate, that are great. And this one was Living Eyes, and I'd never heard it. I'd never heard any of these songs. The Bee Gees. Now, the Bee Gees is one of those bands that make your voice go high when you say the name. One of those bands where if you do a deep dive to the Bee Gees, you probably won't find many bad songs. And if you will find, they've aged. They sound like the times and the beats are a little bit naff or whatever. And but Bee Gees are like ABBA or the Hollies or the Kinks, where you can do a deep dive and just, fuck me, this stuff's amazing. So you don't get bad Bee Gees songs. You just get Bee Gees songs you don't really like as much as other ones. And this album was great. So that was my purchase, made immediately. Straight on Discogs for that one. And I vowed I'd never buy anything used from Discogs again. Because the last 3 albums I've had from Discogs have all been mint or mint minor. And they've been shit. They've been scratched to fuck jumps. I'm like, you rip-off cunts. And I think it's post-COVID, people's standards have just dropped. And in second-hand record sales, I guess it's no different than anything else. So yeah, that's what I do. I listen to music to get me through. But you did ask, what aspect of working out do you find beneficial for your mental health? And I really want to address that because it's really important. Because mind, body and spirit, deny any of them, neglect any of them, and the other ones will suffer. It doesn't work. A triptych. Got to fucking focus on all 3 of them. I think the most beneficial thing for mental health with working out, and I don't have to go to a gym, I don't have to put my headphones on, although these would look pretty fetching in a fucking gym. I find conquering your mind. There's never, ever, ever a day where I want to go upstairs to the pain room. Never. It doesn't work. I hate working out. I hate exercise. I like walking, but I hate being in the pain room. Not hate it. It's functional. It's what happens. But I don't enjoy the process of lifting weights. I'm not one of those macho guys that slams them on the floor when they're done and everything. To me, it's purposeful. I've got to feel them and I've got to know that they're targeting the part I want. Otherwise, why the fuck am I up there? But to get up there, my mind is pretty fucking strong. And if it doesn't want to do anything, that's a convincing motherfucker doing the talking right there. And I'm like, there's loads of things I could be doing. That needs doing. I've got to do that. Lovely day outside. My mind instantly wants me to find something else to do. Now, if I can say, that's all very well and good. It is a nice day. You're all right. This does need doing. But that's not going to happen. What we're going to do is we're going to get upstairs and we're going to go to the pain room. If I can do that, and pretty much every day, I have rest days, but I work different groups every day, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to fucking go upstairs. Now, for years, most of my life, I've followed that negative voice that tries to get out of things. Ego is what it's called. And I've let it win. I've let it win for huge periods where it just got more and more out of control, and then like, oh fuck it, just start drinking. You know, you hate yourself anyway. Well, I'll tell you one thing that happens when you don't want to go to a gym and you go up there and or you go there, drive there, run there, wherever you do, and you get through a workout, it's hard to hate yourself. You've just done something you didn't want to do, and you fucking killed it. You aced it. Even if you get up there and you've got no energy, and it's not a very satisfying workout, you made your mind do that. You told it to fuck off. It's not in charge. You're in charge. And I think for anyone struggling with any mental health difficulties, the art is to convince your mind, to trick your mind, to fake it till you make it. Whatever phrase floats your boat, and I've got lots of them. Controlling your mind is what mental health is all about, you know. And having a new fresh mind now that I'm not on medication, it can go fucking all over the place if I'm not careful. So I've got to crack the fucking whip. I'm a tough boss. And if it doesn't want to go to the pain room, I'll fucking drag it by its fucking dreadlocks and drag it up them fucking stairs. And I'll get there. And I do it every time. And like I say, you do that, it's hard to fucking hate yourself. When it's all fucking done and I'm in the shower, I'm going, yeah, well done you. Well done, you fucking did that. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes you're just having a mental health a neuro frenzy day. I'll do the gym and I'll eat well and I'll walk the dog and I'll think positive thoughts and I'll fucking concentrate on gratitude, and it still doesn't work. And I'm like, go to fucking bed then. That's how I deal with my mental health issues. Like, you tried everything, nothing's working, it's just a shitty day, go to bed. There's a song on the new album called Just Make It a Bedtime. It's a really lovely song. It's one of Jim Pinder's favourites. One of his favourite songs I've ever written, actually. But the whole point is, like, you know, just try your best. Do all of your tips, your skills, your fucking coping mechanisms. And if they still don't work, go to bed. But I find that if you can talk yourself into doing something you really don't want to do, and it's going to benefit you, or if it's not going to benefit you, it's going to benefit you tomorrow. And it's a good feeling to go in the shower and there's not a lot of fucking joy there. And then you've showered yourself and going like, oh, this actually is changing. I am sculpting my fucking body. And I'm not doing weights to try and look like fucking anything. I'm doing weights to fucking survive. I'm doing weights because I know that they help this fucking mad place sort its fucking thoughts out. And it works. So my favourite thing, or the most beneficial thing about working out, for me, is controlling that monkey mind wants to talk bullshit to you. And it's got a very familiar, comforting voice. And you kind of go, okay then. Okay, I'm not going to bother. Fuck it. Tell it it's a shit-stirring little cunt, and you're in fucking charge, not it. Get out and get a fucking job, you bastard. Thank you for that, Silk. I enjoyed that one. Nel Mondo says, hi, Ginger. Hi, Nel Mondo. Can you give a history of the Wildhearts tour bus situation, please? Who chooses the... Oh, there's loads of questions here. Sorry for all the questions, but the tour bus podcast episode could be a belter. Tour bus podcast episode. I think you guys think that tour buses are a bit like dressing rooms, in as much as there's stuff going on there. And it's not. Because usually, I mean, especially upstairs, if people are sleeping, you can't be going there and fucking blasting music, because then you would be a cunt. But lots of tour bus questions here. But there are parties in tour buses, don't get me wrong. And usually everyone on our tour isn't asleep. They're downstairs. Who chooses or is responsible for hiring the bus? Tour manager. The tour manager is responsible for all of that stuff, making sure that everyone gets on stage on time. It's a fucking tough job. They really are up against it a lot of the time, especially when things go wrong on tour. They're fucking magic people. Who drives the bus? The bus driver. A van, I guess, is different. You know, member of the band drives the van. The bus driver, you get it from a bus company. They don't just give you the bus and hope that it comes back in one bit. They provide the driver as well. Best thing about tour buses, I just said that doesn't happen, but the best thing about tour buses is after the show, where you go back on there. I'm full of shit. Just completely contradicted myself. I like when you get back after the gig and you spoke to people outside and it's all officially done. The bus closes the door, it moves. They're hydraulics, by the way, on the fucking suspension, and it pulls away from town. That's my favourite bit. You know, everyone just lets their hair down, a couple of fancy cigarettes get passed around, and then John Poole goes into comedy mode, and you eventually go to bed with your fucking ribs hurting. My second favourite thing on tour buses is I sleep like a baby on a tour bus, just being on the bus when it's moving, falling asleep when it's moving. I was never very good at that because I'd always be awake when we fucking arrived at the next place. But I do like to go to bed now when the bus is moving and you're just like being in the womb. I love that. But yeah, the camaraderie, the vibe when you're after a show, especially after a good show. But after a bad show, you can commiserate and get over it by the fact that, hey, it's just one show, we're all here, we got your back. Yeah, the vibe, the band vibe is the best thing. The worst thing about buses, miserable bus drivers. But there's not that many of them anymore. You used to get some really miserable bus drivers who just didn't want to get on with anyone, didn't want to talk to anyone, which is a weird job to have. If you don't care about the people on the bus that you're driving, you don't know any of them, you don't want to just say hello. I'm not talking about fucking, swapping fucking phone numbers. But just that kind of, I'm the guy who gets you there safely every single day. Why wouldn't that be important on a tour? The worst thing is miserable people on buses. People that don't want to be there. That's the worst thing about tour buses. When have the Wildhearts last toured in a van instead of a bus? When you're doing little gigs or weekend gigs, you tend to get a van and hotels. It just makes them more cost effective. A bus doesn't make sense unless you've got it out for at least a week. It doesn't make financial sense. Funniest tour bus memory. Honestly, favourite hair on your head. I mean, it's an impossible question. There's even if I thought of one, I ignore that, but that was better. Tour bus memories. This one jumps into my head, and it's not a very good one. It's not going to impress you. But we were on tour in America, and it was on the Darkness tour, the second leg of the Darkness tour, and everything was falling apart. The band weren't getting on. The first bit was great. The band were getting on. Everyone was keeping the shit together. And then it was miserable. It was fucking miserable. Stuck in America, and people not talking, people not getting on. Just the fucking least amount of fun you can possibly have, including having things jammed up your arsehole. That's what that tour was like, the second leg of the Darkness tour in America. I'm not going to go into why, but people just weren't making an effort to make it anything other than fucking unpleasant. And I'd got up. I just went to fucking bed. I think I'd been drinking all day, and I got up and everyone was out. The bus was empty, and I went, "Oh, fucking thanks, lads. You've all went out for a fucking whatever's going on, and you haven't woke me up to let me know." It's a cunt's trick. If someone's asleep and you're all going out for a fucking meal, you're going out for a long time, unless they've just went to bed, they're just having a nap, knock them awake and ask them if they want to go. What could be so fucking hard? But anyway, they all left. I sat around a bit, and I was like, they're not coming back. I'm literally no idea when they're coming back. Stuck in the middle of nowhere. I was able to get off the bus and back on the bus, and that was the only saving grace. I wasn't trapped on the bus. I think we were somewhere like Detroit or it was somewhere where downtown you didn't go. It might have been Washington, actually. Anyway, you didn't go downtown, and I was so pissed off. I fucking went downtown, and it was nighttime. And I just went down there and I went to score crack. And I was hanging out with in the roughest places, and I got my crack. The office, you could see something in me that was just like, this guy doesn't seem nervous. The guy seems at home here. And I got my crack, and I even bought the pipe off the fucking crack smoker. That's how glamorous this fucking story is. But I went back home and I went, I'm going to fucking smoke crack. And I went, oh God, this story gets even worse. I'm in now. I went back to bed and I started smoking. And I looked on the telly, and there was the Playboy channel was on. And it was the talk show that used to have Tira Patrick and Crystal Knight on it. Night Calls 411 it was called. I know, because I had nearly 24 hours stuck on the bus. By the way, that's what happened. No one came back for an entire... They'd been gone for the evening, the night, and then the next day, everyone was still out partying. Not giving a fuck about me, so why should I give a fuck about them? So I was in there with a crack pipe and watching porn and masturbating furiously for over 12 hours in a consistent session. I must have fucking masturbated 12 times. Fucking ridiculous. But it was fantastic. And at one point I was just like, you know what? I'm glad everyone's gone. I couldn't do this if there was anyone else on the bus. I'd be all fucking paranoid and concerned. So that was my favourite tour bus memory. Oh, maybe not my favourite, but it jumped in there. Smoking crack to masturbating to porn for over 12 hours in one of the dodgiest places in America. Good times. That was the funniest tour bus memory. It wasn't that funny, was it? Tour bus schedule, not sure what that means. You leave when the bus leaves. The driver's got to sleep a certain amount of hours a day. So sometimes you've got to leave later, which tend to be really good fun because you get to go back. The bus is stationary, you're partying, and then the bus leaves about 4 a.m, and then you do get to sleep. They're my favourite bits. And how much equipment do you take with you? Well, all of the equipment you see. No, the minimum of spares. You get spares on the road if you need them. You know, you've obviously got spare strings and stuff like that. And you usually drag it in a trailer on the back of the bus. You've got a holding bay that usually... A lot of people go on tour and they think they're going on tour for a month, so they have fucking suitcases after suitcases. That fills a holding bay. If you're tour with people who aren't bag-centric and just one-baggers, then you can fit some of your gear in the holding bay, but usually it's just full of people's changes of clothing. Takes all sorts. But anyway, that was the tour bus portion. Thank you, Nel Mondo, for that. Neil here asks a couple of questions. Was the woman in Unlucky in Love really unlucky in love? I've always read as either she's offering the husbands herself while really busy being with Anne-Marie. Fucking hell, I've never spoken about this song in such detail. Or that Anne-Marie is killing them all out of jealousy until she finds the woman that she wants. And I'll just answer that one quickly. It's a made-up story, obviously. A woman with it, she's got a cursed vagina. So men sleep with her once and then they die. The nub of the tale right there. And the only way that she can find love is by a non-penis relationship. Unless any of you don't know, and probably a lot of you don't, Unlucky in Love is a song on the Clamorbeast album. It's a kind of country song, but, you know, country songs were all about kind of bad things happening and stuff like that. So I'll take the piss out of that and have, you know, one shag and you're gone. No, and question number 2. Love the rundown of the horror films. I'm glad that people like that. I enjoyed that. This isn't really a horror film, although it's labelled comedy horror, but have you ever seen a Greasy Strangler? I hated the Greasy Strangler. Dunk fucking loves the Greasy Strangler. I hated it. There's nothing about it. And I like weird horror. I like fucking really weird stuff I like Skinamarink. If you don't know what that is, I probably wouldn't even recommend it. But you know, I like weird horror. But I didn't like Greasy Strangler. I didn't like the humour. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to check it out again. What's the oddest movie you watched that you enjoyed but weren't sure why? Oh, there was one that I wish I could remember the name of it. But it was set in there's a guy in a cabin in the middle of the woods, and there's a kind of a pagan witchy thing going on, but there's very little talking. I've got to remember. If you remember, put the movie in the comments. But he's by himself. It's him and his dog. His brother turns up very, very sporadically. They drink moonshine, and he doesn't do anything. It's so slow and so weird that and at one point this person turns up and it's just this. Oh man, I wish I could remember the fucking title of it. But yeah, apart from not knowing the title of it, but it's a really great film. I really enjoyed it, and the old woman in it keeps talking about this family curse. And it turns out that the woman was just improvising and they just filmed this woman just going on about this curse, this imaginary curse. And that's his mother that keeps going on about that, but I can't remember the title. Hopefully I will remember the title and put it up on this little section. The oddest movie I watched, Skinamarink is an odd movie that I don't even know why I like that film, because literally nothing happens. But it's almost like it's horror seen through the eyes of children. And I think that's why I like it. I like it because it's got an innocence about it and a confusion. Like it wouldn't know how to survive, how to get through something. It would just hope that someone's going to come and help. And I like that, Skinnamarink. Nicholas says, I've really enjoyed these podcasts so far. I'm enjoying you all saying that you like these podcasts. I really am. I'm curious about the new album. What are the biggest differences compared to Satanic Rites? Has it made a big difference now that there's a touring band involved? Do you have any other projects planned for the fall? Well, Nicholas, I'm not going to be doing any other projects. I want to concentrate on this band, musically speaking. But there's talk about a book. It's going to happen at some point. That's going to be interesting. That's, I guess, a project planned for maybe the fall. But Mick Ward, the writer, is just had heart attacks and wasn't well at all. And we're not going to push that one. It's going to wait for him to get well. If it takes fucking years for him to get well, I don't care. I just want him to get well. Does it make a big difference having a touring band? Fuck yeah. It makes such a big difference having a band. There's such a... The theme of this album is community and family and things working together. So yeah, it makes a big difference having a band who really do work together. And we spent a lot of time together. Most of the time, actually, was spent together. People had to go off and do things, but there was a lot of the band there at all times, and that really makes a difference, which is not usually the case in the Wildhearts, because... me and Rich will be in the studio, and then Rich will go home, and then I'm pretty much left in the studio by myself. And if I am with someone else, they come and do the bit, and then they leave. But this time it was lovely to have people who wanted to be there for the whole time. How does it differ? I don't know if it does differ, really. The songs are... It's a bit more mature. The last album was me singing about a transitional period where I started the old me, just being like, just telling everyone to fuck off, don't come near me. I'll ruin you. I'm a poisonous person. And by the end going, hang on a second. So if I'll put some effort into this, it works out. So it's basically just down to me. And that was the message of the first album. This next album is putting that work in the progress of that work. That wasn't even a proper sentence. But yeah, the story about what happens when you devote your life and commit to improving it. And the first thing that I wrote here was the verse of a song called Motherfucker in the Sky. And I moved in November, and it was fucking freezing, snow everywhere, and I was walking Maggie, and this thing, from what? I can see that old motherfucker in the sky. And I'm like, it doesn't even scan. What the fuck is that? I'm not going to argue, and kept that. And it works really well, actually. So yeah, the songs start with the protagonist, being me in this case, putting the work in and saying I've got nothing to complain about if I'm not going to be committed. Hello, darling. I'm still in the middle of a bloody podcast. Will you come and say hello? Come and say hello. There she is. Hello. Oh, there she is. Hello, my darling. Hello, my darling. I'm nearly done. Don't worry. The last question, but the last page. There's one more after this. Yeah, she smells and feels lovely. I've spent the last almost a week untangling all of her little dreadlocks because she goes swimming all the time. She has got hair like a sheep. That just fucking sticks together. It's been a long job. So yeah, it's lovely to fucking touch her, and she's also soft. Oh, where was I? Yeah. So this album it's about the work, but it's also about being inspired by the place to work. And there's a big feeling of being proud of where you live, not just where you come from, although, being in the north, there's a little bit of that as well. But where you are, loving it, having a real, you're fucking all right, you place, I like you, that kind of thing. Just having a love affair with the place that you live. It's very, very positive. There's still a few negatives and a few, barbed comments on the last album. And there's still a few barbed comments. There's some, really funny, really sarcastic lyrics going on in this one. But it's not nasty. There's no mean-spiritedness in this one, It's a very positive vibe, and I think that makes a difference. And also, I wanted to experiment with the parts. So if it goes heavy, I wanted to go really heavy. And if it goes big and orchestral, I want that to be huge and just really invest in the sections, whereas the last one I think had more of an album sound. It was a kind of pretty much a standard sound that went all the way through everything, which I think it needed, the last album, because it was more like Earth Versus, whereas this one, if it's more like PHUQ, it's going to be around the houses a little bit. That's the main difference. So yeah, it's a bit more positive, and I think that's the main difference. Still got loads of choruses, riffs, melodies. You're going to love it. You like the Wildhearts, you're going to fucking love it. I've got a funny feeling this is going to be your favourite. I honestly thought it was going to go there. I've got time for one more from someone who hasn't put their name. So whoever you are, this is it. Hey. Hope all is well with everyone. It is actually really good. Everyone's doing really well. I've recently seen it's the 80th anniversary of the first Moomin book. I thought I'd take a trip down memory lane and listen to an audio book. So I put on Tales of Moomin Valley, and one of the characters sounds very familiar. I think Ginger is Snufkin. Very, very chuffed with that. He lives in the moment, noting how yesterday and tomorrow were far enough away not to have to think about. He meditates on a song in his head until he's ready to come out, and then plays many instruments. He isn't that keen on others, would rather be alone. He loves nature and the sound that he comes across, and of course he is quite partial to his pipe. Where is my pipe? Oh, there it is. This is my electronic vape pipe. Fantastic. So yeah, Snufkin. I like Snufkin. I always liked Snufkin. If any of you don't know, Snufkin's a little guy who lives in the woods. He's got like a green hat, round hat, and he's a funny, sheepish little character, but he's very wise and a non-determinate age. So he's got a youthfulness, and kids love him. But he's got a wisdom, and the grown-ups ask him for advice. And apparently, if you didn't know, Snufkin is based on the writer's boyfriend or lover, who was a member of Member of Parliament, and he was a cultural critic and a left-wing intellectual and a journalist. And it was based on him, and he was apparently so passionate about his work that the love affair didn't turn into anything. But he was still a strong enough impact on the writer of the Moomins to be an inspiration for one of the Moomin characters, Snufkin. And Snufkin's great, and yeah, I like that. Thank you very, very much, whoever the fuck you are. You haven't put your bloody name on. But I like Snufkin. I always like Snufkin. And I didn't realise how close I've actually got to that weird little fucker. But yeah, I wouldn't say I don't like... No, I would say I don't like people. On the whole, I like being by myself. I want to read them. He lives in the moment, noting how yesterday and tomorrow are far away enough not to have to think about them. Yes, yesterday, no real interest in, apart from answering questions. Tomorrow, none of my business. Whatever I think is going to happen isn't going to happen. It's going to be different than I think it's going to be. What the fuck's the point of worrying about it? Snufkin is fuck that. Meditates on a song in his head. I don't remember Snufkin being musical. I remember him always having a bottle of booze and a pipe. But if he's musical, fucking hell. I'm dead on. I'm going to get a Snufkin fucking tattoo. Oh, that's going to be a good idea. But isn't that keen? Would rather be alone. I think you learn everything you need to learn by being alone. You know what? I'm going to go through I've got a couple more questions on this one. I'm going to answer them all. Fuck it. So yeah, I'm very, very chuffed with that one. Whoever you are from Finland. I presume you're from Finland. I love the Moomins. I spent a lot of time in Finland, so you get to know who the Moomins are. And would invariably be at that crazy fucking Swedish airport where there's just tons of Moomin places, Moomin shops. So I used to buy Taylor Moomins and stuff. I like to Moomin. Yes. Anyway, thank you, Snufkin. Fucking brilliant. Snufkin. I am fucking Snufkin. Steve Pluck says, what do Ramones mean to you? I would not. Where do you start? Ramones mean to me, they let me know it was okay to be me. Everyone else was either larger than life, fucking dressed like Kiss, or they were fucking going off and, having some rich rock star lifestyle. None of which, even Sparks didn't live in my world. They live in Sparks' world, and I loved Sparks' world, but it wasn't South Shields. Ramones looked like they could be from South Shields, apart from the cool New York backgrounds and stuff. They looked like they could have been me. They were the first band that made me go, this is weird. They've got ripped jeans on like me. They got baseball boots on like me. They got a leather bike jacket and a fucking t-shirt on like me. They got long unwashed hair like me. I'd never had anyone do that. And I heard Ramones, I think, before I heard Motorhead. So let me obviously galvanise that with my life. You can be a rock god and seemingly normalish. Not normal, but grounded. That's what Ramones mean to me. They legitimised me being me and made me realise I didn't have to change. I was doing fine as I was. I didn't have to dress up like a bat. Did I ever meet them? Yes, I met them. I met Marky at Ramones, a Kerrang thing. Lovely. I met Joey a few times. Just a sweetheart. Joey was just one of those guys that everyone who ever met Joey loved him. He was just a big, lovely, warm-hearted, generous, friendly, very knowledgeable, very smart. Again, Joey taught me that if you haven't got what it seems to take to be a rock star, you can still be a rock star. You can be an oddball. You can look different than everyone else and it'll go in your favour. That's what fucking Joey Ramone told me. I might have even given up. When I just saw all these beautiful rock stars turning up and going like, I'm just never going to be a fucking rock star. I might have given up if it had not been for Ramones. What's your favourite studio album? And how was your experience at Ramones Museum? We went to the Ramones Museum really quickly. I think we just wanted to go. I loved it. How could you not love a Ramones Museum? I just wish it was bigger. I wish there was way more stuff. I wish you could, little booths where you could watch interviews and stuff and have an immersive Ramones experience with a fucking restaurant in there so you can have a break. But lovely people, absolutely lovely people. I fucking had a great time there. What's my favourite studio album? I will always say Pleasant Dreams. Only because Pleasant Dreams found me when I was on the most miserable family holiday of all time. Won't go on about it because it's obviously not very interesting. But if you are interested, I'll tell you about it, why the Ramones clicked with me at that point. But it was a terrible, terrible, terrible holiday and there was nothing to do. And Pleasant Dreams had just come out. I think I had a cassette of it or something. And to say I played the album a lot would be, I played the album as much as I breathed. I just put it on, went, put it on again, and turn over, put it on again, put it on again, turn over, for the whole week. All I did was listen to Pleasant Dreams. And the fact that there's not a bad song on Pleasant Dreams. There was only one. I didn't like We Want the Airwaves, but it came up the other day and I listened to it and I was like, fucking hell, that song's amazing. But probably the worst song on this album. That's just full of amazings. And it was like it was full of singles. There was not a single song I didn't like. I knew the fucking lyrics backwards. I knew the album probably better than they did by the end of it. So I would say Pleasant Dreams. And, Rocket to Russia is, if I was going to recommend a studio album, I'd probably recommend Rocket to Russia. But my personal favourite is Pleasant Dreams. David says, do you think Elvis Presley is relevant in the history of music? I think if it's got to a point where Elvis is not relevant, then the history of music is bullshit. But then history's bullshit. I've just been really glomming on the pyramids of Giza and how little we've been told about what really happened and how, therefore, history is wrong. What we've been told about history and the advancement of civilization is wrong. It's all not right. And if history has kind of erased a little bit of Elvis's influence, then you're being lied to because Elvis invented rock and roll. Now, he didn't bring it into the world. I'll rephrase that. He didn't invent it. He brought it into the world. That's what I meant. Anyway, Little Richard arguably invented rock and roll. Chuck Berry gave it a Little Richard was such a subversive character at that time, gay, black, really fruity and wild. And Chuck Berry gave it a tougher kind of stance. Elvis Presley took the blues and rock and roll and brought it into your living room. Chuck Berry didn't do that. The Beatles did that. Elvis Presley brought rock and roll into the living room. Now, people say cultural appropriation, bullshit. Elvis Presley took what he knew. And if you know anything about Elvis Presley, if you don't know much, watch an Elvis Presley documentary. He was literally the only white kid in all of his friends were black. The only thing that he was going to find out about was black culture. What else was he going to do? Pretend he was brought up in a white neighborhood? He was just being honest. And the legs shaking. People were shaking legs before fucking the blues. If Elvis is not being mentioned in the same breath as the Beatles, then there's something very, very wrong. That's what I will say on it. And I've got 2 more questions. Ginger, could I please ask a triptych of questions? Only if you're quick. I wish Frank Zappa was still around to satirise... this is by Matt, by the way. I wish Frank Zappa was still around to satirise this increasingly ridiculous and obscene world. Me too. And Marky Smith. I wish Marky Smith was still around to satirise this fucking ridiculous world. I'd love to know what he thinks about all this fucking bullshit going. Cancel culture, woke culture, anti-trans, fucking... all of it. Marky Smith would be fucking hilarious and he'd be against it all. What's your favourite Zappa album? Mine's One Size Fits All. Again, if I was going to recommend a Zappa album, I would recommend One Size Fits All, apostrophe. But I'd recommend Joe's Garage as well, and Shake Your Booty. Joe's Garage and Shake Your Booty are pretty hard. If you're a newcomer, they're pretty hard not to love because it's Frank Zappa going like kind of commercial. But my favourite Zappa album is You Are What You Is. Something about You Are What You Is just him still being political, him still being subversive, but embracing the rock and roll that he grew up, the doo-wop that he grew up with. It's got great performances. It's great songs. That's so yeah, I would recommend Shake Your Booty, or Joe's Garage, or my personal favourite, One Size Fits All. I love how you plunder the Hammer Film archives for album titles. How about using some of the second division productions? Never Take Sweets from a Wild Heart, The Wildhearts of Bombay, Lust for a Wild Heart. I like that movie. It would have to be a movie I like. There's a lot of the Hammer movies, the thrillers and stuff like that, I wasn't really that into. And I don't tend to like 60s movies. I don't like movies set in the 60s unless Dracula has come from the fucking ancient past of Transylvania and he's somehow in the 60s. I like that. Well, I'm not a big fan of 60s culture, to be honest. But Lust for a Wild Heart, Lust for a Vampire was a fucking great film. That was one of those. I was just going through puberty when I first saw that one. And if you know what I'm talking about, I lost a lot of babies to that film. Finally, just a quick one. What's the meaning of life? I'm glad you're so happy now. Please stay that way because we need you. I am finally happy because I've realised that happiness happens and it's all down to you. And I guess that therein is the meaning of life. It's all down to you. You change your future. You change reality. The 3D world is a con. It's a level. It's a matrix. I don't like the movie Matrix. I don't even like using that word. But it's a matrix for the physical component of your experience to control, to do the best that you can, to absolutely fulfill your potential. And once you realise that, then you realise that mind, body and spirit, you can't ignore any of them. You work on your mind and your body and your spirit with complete commitment, you will find happiness because you'll find balance. Unhappiness is all about being out of balance. I know this for a fact because I've been unhappy for most of my life and I was very out of balance. And now that I've got everything balanced, even when my mind wants to be a bit of a cunt and play tricks on me, I can deal with it. It doesn't make me want to jump off a fucking big thing. So yeah, the meaning of life is you are in charge. It's not just a physical thing. It's not just a physical experience. You're tricked into thinking it's a physical experience, and breaking out of that is the meaning of life. The meaning of life is you are consciousness who, whilst down here in the 3D world, experiencing the 3D world, has forgot that it's consciousness. Is convinced that it is part of this 3D world, and that's the trick. The meaning of life is to remember that you are a spiritual being having a physical experience and not the other way around. So that's the meaning of life. It's up to you. Happiness is in your hands. Your unhappiness is also your fault. So if it's going good or it's going bad, it's all your fault. And once you realise that, you've realised the meaning of life is just to figure out what it is that you need to make you happy. Well, I could give you tips on what will probably make you happy. And it involves eating properly, exercising regularly, being positive, not bullshitting, not drama, no fucking gossip. Stop watching shitty television and the fucking news that makes you miserable. And then you stand a good chance of being on the right path where you can deal with your mind, your body and your spirit. You can't feed your mind with negative stuff and expect it to be healthy. So you're going to be out of balance. And you get the balance right, you get happiness. And happiness isn't about sunshine and smiling. Happiness is about the work. Happiness is about productivity. This whole life is about productivity. Be productive. And once it's over, you'll realise that it was all a fucking joke anyway. It was all just a laugh, you know. I didn't see it at the time because you weren't doing it right. That's the meaning of life. To get the most out of this experience as you possibly can, because you're showing consciousness what it's like to be you. Amazing. It's so fucking easy, but the work's hard. But the solution is so easy. Mind, body and spirit. Work hard on every one of them. I can't really go on after that because that is a perfect place to end this. I've just given you the meaning of life. Remember that you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. That's the meaning of life. This has been fun. This has been great. My cup lasted. I wonder if I've got one more. Oh. It lasted. Next time you'll be seeing the new mug come out the shelves. I will see you next week. Thank you very much for this. It's been brilliant. I can't wait to get packed up now. Get in the car, go to the studio, and the next time I see you, I'll have an album mixed. But anyway, thank you very much. Have a brilliant, brilliant weekend. Be good to each other, but most importantly, be good to yourself. Bye.